What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us here for week 2 of the Sports Ethos weekly lineup show. My name is Joe Orrico. You can find me over on Twitter at Joe Orrico99. And I'm joined today by a special guest because Steve Vidovich is not able to be with us. John Mosales. You can find him on Twitter at John Mosales. I believe it's just the way your name is actually spelled out on screen there, right, John?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
How are you doing today, man?
Can't complain, man. One week in the books and live to fight another day.
How are your teams looking so far through the first week? I'm curious.
I got crushed. 4 weeks, 4 head-to-heads, 4 big losses.
Yeah, I didn't do too great, especially in my main home league with my friends, which is the bigger buy-in. I lost 8-1 in that first week, so that one's not looking so great. Really, really tough for me to gauge value this year on a lot of players. I find that there's a lot of guys on the waiver wire who have been big pickups that we've seen over this last week, and there's also some guys who have been maybe a little bit disappointing, who some people have been maybe dropping prematurely, maybe getting ahead of the curve. Are there any big names, like off the top of your head here, maybe a big player who's underperformed or a guy who's maybe coming out of nowhere off the waiver wire? What are your big takeaways so far from the first week of the NBA season?
Big takeaways. I mean, it's tough. I try as a rule not to have big takeaways after week 1 because, that's overreacting can be a problem. But, I mean, I got Herb Jones in a lot of leagues. That's not looking great. I'm really liking Trey Mann as a pickup for this week, right? With Shea potentially out. Giddey's got a sprained ankle. I mean, yeah, Garland out sucks, but there's not really a pickup there. I mean, Chetty Osman's okay. And then Walker Kessler, that's probably been my best pick so far.
Yeah, I got Kelly Olynyk in a couple of places I was pretty happy about. I've added Royce O'Neal in a couple of leagues. I've been pretty happy with him. The main point here for you guys who are in the show, we're going to be answering any lineup questions. We're going to be talking through if you guys have a, start this guy versus that guy kind of thing. If you want to throw in trade questions as well, any kind of questions you can throw at us. In terms of the schedule this week, there are 15 teams that play 4 games. And then we have everybody else playing 3 games except for Sacramento, who has 2. So maybe your fringe guys out in Sacramento. I know Harrison Barnes is somebody that I've gotten rid of pretty much wherever I had him. He's not really looking great. But if there is a guy who is playing, Brooklyn, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Golden State, Houston, Indiana, Miami, Minnesota, New York, these teams all play 4 games this week. So I think you're probably going to be dropping or sitting a lot of your Sacramento players. Anybody in Sacramento there you think might still be a start given the 2-game week?
I mean, it's pretty much just Fox, Sabonis, and then Keegan Murray, the only guys I'd hold on to. I mean, Herter had a big game 1, but I don't really trust him.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct. Until we start getting some questions in here, maybe we're going to just talk like we did last week with Steve about the most added players over on Yahoo and just get your general take on it. Today, by a mile, the most added player has been Terrence Ross. More than 23,000 leagues over on Yahoo have added up Terrence Ross. Is he somebody that you think will be able to sustain some value? Is he more short-term, or would you just avoid it? What's your general thought there?
I mean, I think everyone's probably had Terrence Ross in every league at some point throughout the season. He is what he is, but I mean, maybe with Paolo, he's getting more open looks, better opportunities. But I mean, he's not a bad guy to stream for a week, get a couple threes, 20 points. But I can't imagine him holding any value.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that play 4 games this week. I think that there's a decent amount of value in adding him up, maybe even starting him in one of your weekly lineups. Now, the last game they played, he hit 5 threes, 29 points.
Yeah.
That's not really going to be sustainable. He shot 68% on 16 shots. It's not going to really happen, but I think, he's been getting 35 minutes every game here, 32 in the opener and then 35 in the 2 since. If he's getting those kind of minutes, he can be a good asset for free throws. He can hit you some threes. I think that he's a reasonable ad here. I don't know if he's like the top priority, like the consensus seems to be here on Yahoo is that he is the top priority. I'm not sure that he would be my number 1, but I think still a pretty strong ad.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. In a 14-man league, like, if you're some dead weight, like Poku, or, you had a guy that just, got hurt and you want to drop. Yeah. No, Ross is definitely, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. The next guy here is somebody that we were kind of talking about last week. I know Aaron Brewski was pretty big on him heading into the year as well. Is that Grant Williams? He is a top 30 player so far this season on Yahoo. He's been added up quite a bit, up to 39%. I'm a big fan of his game. He doesn't really hurt you anywhere fantasy wise. He's getting decent minutes. It was 24, then 25, then 31. I really like an ad of Grant Williams and slotting him into lineups. What are you thinking there?
Oh yeah, I love Grant. Right, contract year too. Got Time Lord out for a while. Horford, old banged up knee, already missing games.
Yeah.
He's never afraid to shoot. Yeah, no. I wish I had more Grant.
Yeah, he's still available in a lot of leagues. Now, this week, they play Monday, then they have 3 days off, and then they play again on Friday and then on Sunday. So, weekly lineup, maybe. I mean, you guys want to throw some questions in there. If you have Grant Williams, Grant versus player X, whoever it is, we'll field those. He might be kind of tough to start. Daily changes for sure. And a weekly league, though, where you got the 3-day stretch there, it might be a little bit tough.
Yeah, that'd be tough to pick him up now. Then you got to sit him Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I still think that in the long run, you might, and maybe some people disagree with this, but I think you should prioritize the long term in terms of these first couple of weeks of pickups. You look for guys who have that season long upside, a nice role that they can that they already have or that they can grow into, as opposed to just trying to win an extra 1 or 2 categories in week 1. I think you go for the long term as opposed to the short term there. But what do you think? What's your opinion?
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. I mean, the whole point of the first couple of weeks is trying to get Desmond Bain, right?
Yeah.
If you picked him up last year, game 2, you hold him all year. He's what was he, top 25 in the year or something?
Yeah.
And your season set. So yeah, I always like to say, you don't want to panic drop a guy, but you want to panic pick up a guy.
Yeah, no, there are some guys who I think are pretty safe drops. Poku, Robert Covington, I think, is probably a pretty safe drop as well. There are some guys that were drafted that are still kind of highly rostered that I think are pretty safe to let go. Will Barton's another one. He's still up over 30%.
Yeah.
There's just not much of a role coming off the bench in Washington for him there. There are some changes that you can make, and they'll probably benefit you in the short term and the long term. But with a Grant Williams, I think you look at that 3 games off, and even in a weekly setting, if you can afford it, I think you're adding him and you're putting him on the bench just to have.
Oh yeah, no. If I had Williams available in any of my leagues, I'd pick him up right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I could, at all 10, 12, 14 men, right? Maybe in a 10 man, maybe you're not doing it, but yeah, I'd love to grab him in anything else.
Next guy here we have is Precious Achua.
Oh, my guy.
I like Precious more so from a real life basketball standpoint. I think he's going to get some run here, especially if Scotty Barnes does not play. He's a game time decision, but we saw him get more run last year, and down the stretch in the second half, he was really good. He was hitting more threes, yada, yada, yada. And he was still 175th or something in terms of his rank. So he wasn't, I don't know that there's a ton of upside there, given how bad he is with free throws. He doesn't give you really any assists, not many defensive stats. Would you be adding him? Do you agree, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just a big Precious fan, but I think Boucher's back tonight, so that could eat some minutes. Right, they got Thad Young, they like Coloco, so it's pretty, jam packed there in the front court. But I'm a big Precious guy, so I would add him, but you might have to eat a little short term, 12, like 8 and 4s or something. But he's one injury away, and he might end up starting too, right? Trent's kind of looked awful. So
yeah, that's the thing with the Raptors is that Nick Nurse plays everybody 36 minutes ish. So there's going to be some injuries. We're going to see probably some guys have to miss a bit of time, and then I think maybe Precious can step in a little bit. I like him more in a points league. I think if it's a points league, I'd be a big fan of adding him. A category league, I think he's more of a deeper option. But like you said, if there's anybody who gets injured, maybe he needs to play like he did the other night. If he's playing 34 minutes, which is not likely right now, but it could be potentially he could do what he did the other night, a couple threes, 18 and 11. I don't think it's a terrible ad. He's at 24% rostered right now. Not like a high priority ad, but I don't think it's a terrible one either. I think you can justify it. Dennis Smith Jr., another guy being added up. Are you going to be adding up Dennis Smith Jr.? What do you think there?
I did get him in a league for I think Sunday when he played well, but I mean, man, he's been around. Everyone's had him. He is who he is, but he's had a great start to the season. And then I just saw the Lakers are interested in maybe trading for Rozier with those unprotected picks. We got LaMelo's not back. Rozier's hurt. I mean, I think the Charlottes, they don't have a great schedule this week, but I think only 3 games. But if you need a point guard, he's going to put up counting stats.
Yeah, I worry a little bit that Rozier might come back. Maybe LaMelo Ball comes back. I'm not really sure about the timeline of LaMelo actually. Won't play against I'm not sure if
I
it's going to
think he
be.
was like 3 weeks to start the season minimum.
Was it going to be that long? I thought it was only going to be like a week or two, but maybe you're right. Yeah. So I mean, maybe he's not the biggest concern. Terry Rozier, I think, might be able to come back. He was doubtful and then out for Sunday. Maybe a couple days off. He comes back. That would eat into it a little bit.
That's true.
I think maybe with Dennis Smith, because they don't play for a couple days, you hold off on the ad in a daily or a weekly changes league. Get your opinion there, but I think maybe you can hold off and see if you can wait, because he's not a guy who has that long-term upside. If you wait and you miss him, you're probably only going to miss 2-3 games worth of really strong value, I think. So I'd probably hold off, and then if he's still available Wednesday and Rozier is out of the lineup, then I think that would be a really, really great ad. But what's your opinion there?
Yeah, I wouldn't drop him for anyone I like, but they got the back-to-back Friday, Saturday. So Rozier's ankle, if it's tender, you might sit one of those games. If you're a little desperate for a little punch, he's a lottery ticket.
Yeah,
because he does have the talent. Was he a top 6 pick back in the day? High flyer, he can shoot, pass.
Yeah,
Charlotte's, playing in the high-scoring games.
He gets you a lot of defensive stats. He can give you blocks from the guard position. Threes, really another guy who doesn't really tend to hurt you much anywhere. I mean, the field goal percentage won't always be this nice, but I think he'll be a guy he won't be a must roster player, but he'll get his moments, especially if Rozier does go to the Lakers. I mean, they'll get back Westbrook likely, which would
That's true.
complicate the whole situation again there. But I think Dennis Smith has some value as a short-term ad. Derek White is the next guy being added up. What do you think about Derek White?
I've always been a big White guy. I remember I traded I picked him up on waivers last year when he was, pretty crap. And then he ended up top 30 with the Spurs before he got traded. But I mean, they added Brogdon, Tatum, Brown are going to be playing tons of minutes. Smart. Like I just don't see much of an avenue for getting the usage, even though he just had that big game. White's probably a guy I would hold off on picking up, just because I don't think the ceiling's there.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get these kind of minutes every night. We saw 24, 25 in the first 2 games. I think that's a lot more likely than 37. Shooting 10 of 17 with 5 threes. I don't really see that. I think it's just too crowded. I think there's just not enough room, not enough upside. A lot of people are adding him because right now, I mean, totals 41st ranked on Yahoo, 53rd on average. A lot of people see that. They think it's real sexy. It is real sexy this time of year to see that kind of thing. But it's not. It's not really something I think that we can expect to go on for too much longer.
I do love his defensive stats, though. That's been my favorite part about him, right?
Yeah.
That 2 steal, 2 block game. And so I'd be waiting. But as soon as Brogdon goes down, and he always goes down, then White becomes a super ad.
Yeah, I agree there. He's not a high priority ad for me right now. I think he's fine, but I think there's probably some other guys you can still get your hands on that I'd prefer. Let's move down now to Usman Garuba. I like him, and I think if Sengun might sit out tonight, and that would be the play there. I think if Sengun ends up sitting, then you add him. A lot of people have already added him up in anticipation of that. But the latest news on Sengun, I think, is he is going to be a game time decision.
He's sick, right? Illness?
Yeah, he's got an illness. He's questionable. Bruno Fernando is going to be out. Jason Tate. Yeah. So, I mean, Garuba might be, if you guys are playing DFS, he might be a really great play there. Season long, he'd be a short-term streamer, I think. Nothing, I don't think long-term in terms of value there, but what's your take on him?
To be honest, I don't have the biggest take on Garuba. I don't think I'd ever heard of him before, 3 days ago, but he had 4 steals in that game, which is, I don't know if that's replicable, but that's huge. Rocket's going to go up and down, they love to play fast, so he should, by just nature, just fall into a bunch of counting stats. But I mean, Terry Eason's probably, or is that how you pronounce it? Is it Terry Eason?
I think it's Tari or Terry. I think it's Eason for sure. I think it's Terry or
He's the guy I'd be targeting then, especially if Sengun sits.
Yeah, people have been dropping him. I've seen people asking questions about should they drop him. They're not. I mean, he's been fine, especially because he's not getting a lot of minutes. I like him a lot. In terms of Garuba with the steals, I mean, steals are kind of, they're very volatile game to game anyway, even for people who we can expect them from your Chris Pauls and DeJounte Murrays and who else. You're not going to get 4 steals from him every night. You're not going to get anywhere near that kind of number probably. So if you're adding him thinking he's going to be a huge steal guy because of that, I wouldn't be deceived because of it. I think if Sengun sits, I like him. If Sengun plays, maybe he still has some value. Maybe he can still play 25-ish minutes, but I would keep expectations in check for him. Max Strus is the next guy being added up here. I'm not sold that he can be a guy long term. I think he's more of a 3-point streamer. But what's your take on Max Strus?
I'm a big Struce guy. I was also a big Duncan Robinson guy. So, maybe I have a type. But the Heat are playing Wednesday, Thursday back to back. So, like, he's a guy I'm going to be adding tomorrow in every league available. Right? We're playing Portland Warriors. It's probably a lot of threes, a lot of good looks. He can get some boards. It's not going to hurt you in percentages. Not going to turn it over. Short term, and if he keeps playing well, you just hold him. So I'm pretty big on Strus, especially in the for the Wednesday, Thursday, and then if he plays well, he can stay on the team.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that he's probably going to fall more into a streamer mold than a must roster, but only time will tell. Kyle Lowry is not getting any younger. I don't think Jimmy Butler has been terribly impressive so far. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think Jimmy
I think
Butler
he's been pretty solid.
He's been okay.
He's Jimmy.
He's been Jimmy. Yeah, he's returning right now. He's 66th on the season.
Okay,
not the greatest. I think. Yeah, low steals are probably contributing to that. Everything else is pretty close to what we usually get. And we have a question here from Wayne. So let's get off of the Yahoo waiver wire kick for a second and get to the question. So I picked up Aldama, Royce O'Neal, Ijax, Trey Murphy. Need to drop one. I'll put it on screen here. I need to drop one when Rozier returns. Which of these guys are better long-term holds? It's head-to-head 9-cat, head-to-head 9-cat 12 team. What are you thinking here, John?
I mean, let's go by process elimination. Isaiah Jackson, you got to hold, right? Because Turner out, they got the potential trade. Trey Murphy looks like a stud now with Ingram out. Zion might be out. Herb might be out. So I'm keeping those two. So it's between Aldama, Royce O'Neal. That's probably tough for me. Has Royce been good?
Royce has been pretty good. Yeah, he's put up a lot of defensive stats, which granted may not stick. I think Aldama. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on in Memphis. Are we going to see more of Brandon Clark? Are they going to go more with Aldama? Plus, we're going to have Jaren Jackson back in a little while. I don't think that Aldama has long-term rest of season, like quote-unquote league winner type, anything like that. I think there's some value in him now. How long it will stay, I think, is up to a matter of opinion. Probably no longer, I don't think, than a couple of weeks. Maybe it'll be until Jackson returns, but I think they're going to start to use Brandon Clark a little bit more, which will eat into that. I think that there's a higher floor with Royce O'Neal, I think, as opposed to Aldama.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that he is a guy who's in that mold of like a Dorian Finney-Smith, where you kind of just know roughly what you're going to get. He's going to be around 100, 120 ranked probably for the season. Not going to have those massive flashy weeks, but you're just going to generally know what you're going to get with him, which is a little spattering of value kind of across the board. And Trey Murphy, I mean, while Ingram is out specifically, I think that he'll be a good streamer. I'm not really sure about this season if he's going to be in that, similar to Aldama. Is he going to be like a league winner type? There's a lot of mouths to feed over in New Orleans. So
he could, but he's one Zion injury away.
He is one Zion injury away, which is definitely in the cards. And Isaiah Jackson, you have to hold, especially with this Miles Turner stuff, especially out of the gate. I don't really know what's going to happen there. Who knows if he's even going to play another game for Indiana? I think that it's possible that he's suited up there the last time. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think that there's definitely some weird stuff going on there. So I'd hold on to Isaiah Jackson. I think that his role will just keep getting bigger and bigger. I think that the clear probably drop for me, I would probably drop Aldama. If I had to pick one guy here, I think I would go with Aldama.
Yeah, I probably would too. I just love Memphis, right? They just play so fast, right? They led the league in steals last year. They just fall into so many great cats. And then Steven Adams, he's not really moving very well. So, it's tough. But yeah, I'd keep Royce. Like take the guy you might hold for the whole year.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of minutes. I mean, there's not going to be a crazy amount of value, but he's just going to be a good baseline guy to have on your team, I think. I hope that clears up your question there, Wayne. But let's move on to Asan. I believe it's Asan, but forgive me if I am mispronouncing that. Would you drop one of Hartenstein, Portis, Cam Johnson, or Clarkson for Trey Murphy, 9-cat head-to-head?
Ooh.
I don't think so. I don't think I would. Maybe Clarkson, but what do you think, John?
I mean, yeah, that's like Hartlestein, no, because he's looking good. Mitch Robinson's probably getting hurt. Portis, same thing. Brooke Lopez, right? And then I love Cam Johnson. So Clarkson, yeah, he's a chucker. Utah's got a lot of chuckers, but they're 3-0. They're
Yeah.
playing fast. Like it's really tough for me. I I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to pull the trigger there.
I don't think I would either. Like Clarkson would be the guy I think if you're going to drop somebody just because he's going to kill your percentages. But he's been pretty good this season. I mean, I don't think that he's going to continue to shoot almost 4 threes a game or sink almost 4 threes a game.
He might.
He might. He might. He's going to shoot a lot, but that's going to kill your field goal.
Yeah.
He's the guy I think I would drop. Cam Johnson I like, even though I don't think it's been terribly great for him so far.
Yeah, he's been hurt though.
Yeah, and Bobby Portis is a guy who I really like as well. I think I'd probably hold off on Trey Murphy. I don't see the long-term upside this season anyway. Barring, and I mean, they could just go through a bunch of injuries and then he ends up having a ton of value. But as of right now, I'm not really sold on him outside of streaming value. And those other guys, I think they can be more mainstays on your roster. So yeah, that's where I stand on that one.
Yeah, too. It depends too. How many is it? 12-man or 14-man? All right, I think it's probably a 12.
Yeah.
I would because I wouldn't mind picking. I would love to pick up Trey just for the short term, right? He's going to give you a nice boost.
Yeah.
But you have him in a month, right? So, what's the highest Clarkson's ever finished, right? He's not, just outside the top 100.
Probably the year he won 6th man of the year a couple of years back. I would imagine that was probably his best finish. I would say so, probably.
Yeah. It just goes to your general strategy, right? I like shooting for the moon, right? Murphy's more of a moon guy. Clarkson's got a higher floor.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I hope we've cleared that one up for you there. But let's get back to a couple more of these add and drop. Well, mostly just ads right now. The next one is Trey Murphy. We'll skip over him because we've talked about him at length already. Emmanuel Quickly. I kind of like an ad of Emmanuel Quickly, but I'll leave this one up to you. What do you think?
Quickly? I've always thought he had talent, but I mean, yeah, Brunson's eating up a lot of minutes. And then who's that? Grimes is going to be out for a bit, and they just had somebody else who's playing really well for the Knicks, the guard.
Who else is playing well for the Knicks?
Quickly.
I can't even think of who else is playing well for the Knicks. Honestly, they've only played those 2 games, and let's see. Well, Cam Reddish had that first game. He was pretty good.
Reddish isn't any good. So yeah, if Quickly can get that backup point guard, and then if he can also play with Brunson, because I mean, all the Knicks need is shooting.
I don't love the Knicks backcourt there fantasy wise. I think that there could be a room for Quickly to get more of a role there. I think Evan Fournier, very mediocre. I don't think Reddish is going to get this many minutes going forward. I think Quickly will be a guy who probably pushes up like 25 plus minutes. And we saw last time 27 minutes, he had 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Been a couple days since they've played, and he's kind of cooled off as an ad. He's only 17% rostered. But I think that he can be kind of a sneaky guy. Maybe he's not like a 10-teamer. I think he's probably 12 to 14 range, but I think he should probably be able to have 12-team value this year.
Really? Okay.
I think so. I think that he can have potential to be a back-end 12-team guy. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I like Emmanuel Quickly though. You're not as big on him, eh?
I'm just not big on the Knicks, I guess. I'm not even that big on Brunson, Randall. They're kind of a mess.
I was big on Randall at his draft price because I was getting him in the 70s and beyond, like 65 to 80 kind of ranges where I was drafting him. And only 2 games, not a big sample size, but he's been. If that's the value I'm going to get from that draft slot, I'll take it. He's 47th on a per game basis right now. Last year was really bad, but I think that the true value of him lies somewhere between last year and the year before. He was a big discount. Hartenstein, we got the question about him earlier. I really like him as well. I think he'll have 12-team value this season. Mitchell Robinson, I've seen Mitchell Robinson dropped in a couple of leagues already, and I'm not totally opposed to it. I can understand it for sure.
I like Mitch Rob. I'm a big stocks guy. So if I can get, guys give me 2 blocks a game, put them on my bench, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, he fits a certain build. If you're going for big man stats in general, like going for field goal and blocks, maybe some rebounds. I'm not crazy about him just in general as like a must add. He kills your free throws. He doesn't do. I don't know. There's always the injury risk with him. I'm not. Maybe it's the Nick thing. I'm just not a huge Mitch Robinson guy in
Now
general.
we flip flop. Now I'm back in the Knicks, and you're hating on them.
I'm. I don't know. I'd have more faith, honestly, in Emmanuel Quickly having value this season than I would in Mitchell Robinson.
Okay, side bet then. Who finishes higher, Robinson or Quickly?
Yeah, we can put a few bucks on that. I think I think Quickly will finish higher, honestly, and I guess it would come down to per game versus total because I think
Yeah.
Robinson would miss. We have to expect he's going to miss some time.
I think he played like 70 games last year.
Did he really?
Yeah, I remember I did it. I was shocked too.
I'm surprised by that, but I mean, if he stays healthy, he's shot 76 from the field last year, 0.8 steals, 1.8 blocks. There is some value. I mean, 48 from the field or from free throw. So it comes at a bit of a cost, but I don't know. Back to the original guy quickly. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit too high on him, but I think that he can have some value. Goga Batadze, next guy being added up. What are your thoughts?
Goga. I've always been a big Goga fan. I don't know why. He's, not really good at anything. And he seems to be really injury prone, even though he's ginormous. But the Pacers, the injury bug, tanking, everyone's on the table. But I mean, I wouldn't be adding Goga because they still got, Jalen Smith, Miles might be coming back. They got Isaiah Jackson. I mean, there's a lot of big bodies there.
Yeah, I mean, this was like, excuse me, guys. That was like a reminder the other night of what he can do: 14 and 15 with a 3, a steal, and a block. I mean, still 1 of 4 from the free throw line, but I don't think that there's a lot of value in him as of now. I think that he's more of a wait and see. If there are injuries, if Turner gets traded, maybe we see more value from him, but not a huge Goga guy at the moment. Excuse me, guys. I got something in my throat there. Walker
Great
Kessler.
Name. Oh, great name though, Goga.
Oh no, that is a great name for sure. Walker Kessler is the next guy being added up quite a bit. I like Walker Kessler. I think that this will probably be worth it, even though the minutes aren't really there. The per game production's been there. Have you added him up anywhere?
I drafted him in 3 of my leagues with my last pick. He was my number 1 late sleeper target. So if he's available in any league, I would snatch him up as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
I think he's going to hold value short term, and then Olynyk likes to get hurt. Jazz are 3-0, so who knows what they're really doing? But I mean, it's like when they had Gobert, right? Gobert was young; he was playing 16 to 18 minutes behind Favors, and then Favors got hurt. Gobert got up to like 20, 30 minutes, and boom, he's a top 25 guy.
Yeah. I don't know how many minutes we're going to see out of Kessler if nobody gets hurt. Are they going to give him more time just generally, naturally? Is that going to happen, or is it going to have to be at the expense of somebody getting hurt, you think?
I mean, the Jazz are 3-0. I would have bet my life that they'd be closer to 0-3 than 3-0. So
yeah,
it's really hard to predict what's going on there. But I mean, he's young, he's big, he's probably one of their only good defensive players. I'd just be shocked if he doesn't at least hold value. But I'd say he's more likely to break out than the opposite.
Yeah, I'm not sold that the Jazz are going to be an entity this year. This is probably a mirage. I don't know that a core of Markkanen, Clarkson, Olynyk, Conley, and Vanderbilt is going to compete in the West, compete anywhere. I think that maybe over time we start to see them focus a little bit more on development second half of the year, and we see more time from Kessler. But that's a great job getting him in those leagues. He's currently 106th right now, but I think that's mostly because the free throw is really killing the overall value there at 45%. So I wouldn't really factor that too much.
In the Jazz, right? They might just be auditioning people, right? Markkanen looks great. Maybe trade him, right?
Yeah, Markkanen. I think in fantasy side note, Markkanen I think is a sell high. Markkanen has been like I don't think he's capable of this at all. But we actually have another question here from James. Did you mention anything about Brook Lopez? We actually didn't. I like Brook Lopez. I think that he should be added up pretty much everywhere you can get him. 69% rostered right now, but he's got a great skill set. 5 blocks and 2 steals the other night. Solid starter minutes. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's old. What is he? Is he 34 now?
No, I think at least 34.
Yeah, didn't really play last year. Doesn't move very well, but with their defensive
Yeah,
scheme,
34.
yeah, he just sits there in the paint, blocks without jumping, takes those open threes. He's not really injury prone because he doesn't move fast, so it's just really his back.
Yeah.
And he's established there in Milwaukee. So yeah, I mean, I love Brook Lopez. Right, you're going to get a lot of like 8 and 8 lines with 2 blocks and a steal that don't look great, but they really help you by the end of the week.
Yeah, he's also a big who's going to not hurt your free throws, which are not exactly easy to come by. If you can still get him he's at 69% on Yahoo. I'm not sure why that hasn't gone up even more. I would have thought that would be closer to like 80% now on a per game basis so far this season. Granted, only 2 games, but he is number 18. So
Jesus,
I would
18.
18. Yeah, well, he's averaging right now 3.5 threes, 13 points, 4.5 rebounds, a steal, and then this is the kicker here: 3.5 blocks. That's what's really getting him up over that mark. He has 7 blocks in 2 games. That's crazy. Not going to sustain to that rate, but can he give you 1.2 to 1.5 range? Absolutely, yeah. Which
Yeah. As long as he plays, he's going to look like a steal for anyone who got him. Like what, 11th, 12th round?
oh yeah, he wasn't even really he wasn't on anybody's radar really.
No.
Not much at all. I really like Brook Lopez. I think that's if you're asking this because you're debating adding him or not, I would absolutely go ahead and add Brook Lopez. He shouldn't be available, I don't think.
Who'd you rather have, Brook Lopez or Jared Vanderbilt?
Ooh. I think Vanderbilt, but that's close.
Right.
Maybe you take Lopez because you're going to get some threes out of Lopez. That's a tough one. Who would you take?
I like Vanderbilt. Give me the youth.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he's
But
going to give you more rebounds. The defensive stats are going to be really good. That's a good question though. I think that's a really maybe I'll put that up in the forum later up on the website because that's a really good question. I think
I think that probably splits. It's your fantasy perspectives, right? It's ceiling versus floor guys,
yeah
old versus youth.
yeah I'm not sure the way that would generally go. Maybe put out like a poll on Twitter because I really like that question. I think that's a good one. I'm going to see what Vanderbilt's percentage is up at now. Up to 72. He's still someone who's that should be a lot higher. Wow. I don't know how he's still available. People are, I don't know. I see things like Will Barton still being rostered, like we talked about before, 32 or 35% or whatever he is. Like, get him off your roster. There's certain guys, even Harrison Barnes is like 70+% rostered. There's certain guys who are just killing you. And there's guys like Vanderbilt, like Lopez, who are still available, not in the majority of leagues, but if you're in many leagues and you don't exactly know your waiver wire, just put in a search for these guys and they might just be available. And that would be hugely beneficial if you can exchange Harrison Barnes for Vanderbilt right now. Like that would, oh my god,
that'd be the dream.
Oh my god! And there's somebody out there, maybe somebody listening to this, maybe somebody not, who knows, but there's somebody out there who could make that switch and maybe just doesn't even know about it because let's say you play in 7 leagues, you can't know the waiver wire off by heart in those leagues. Even in just even in 2 leagues, you can get confused about who's available. 2 12-team leagues, who's available on which wire. That's easy to get confused there. But let's keep it going with a couple more of these names, unless there's any more questions here. Nothing yet. Feel free to chime in, guys. If you got any questions, sit starts for this week. We got lineup locks in like an hour and a half. Anything there? Any trade questions? We're happy to answer anything. The next guy who is on this ad list over on Yahoo, Jalen Noel. Is it Noel or Noel, actually? No,
I'm not sure. I've never heard his name spoken out loud.
Yeah, I'm actually not 100% sure, but he is being added up today. He's up to 14% rostered. And I think, honestly, I wouldn't really be doing it yet. He's had a few good games where he's been scoring despite the limited minutes. He's been hitting threes. He's been kind of helping you a little bit everywhere. But I don't know that that's really sustainable over there in Minnesota. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not really a big Noel fan, but I mean, they got rid of a lot of guys to get Rudy, so they're pretty thin on the wing. If I won't be adding him, but you never know, right? I just don't have a great Noel take. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really have like a strong opinion, but I think that there are better options unless you're in a deep league, like even in a 14-team league, like he's maybe there, but like if you're just in a standard 12-team, 10-team, there's no chance for me. Dan, big fan of Brook Lopez. That is noted.
And Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I think he hit on quite a few members of the old man squad this year. I got to go back and check it out. But the old guys, old and reliable, man. I mean, it's either the young and upcoming guys who you can get your hands on, or it's the old reliable guys in the middle there.
I find you more often win with the old reliable guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah, or you get someone who's, maybe like a Walker Kessler, who's someone who's still 45% rostered over on Yahoo. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. The next ad we have here, though, Larry Nance Jr. What are you thinking about Larry Nance? Maybe if there's some injuries there. I don't know. What's your
I added him 10 minutes before this podcast. So
really? Okay.
yeah, I'm a big Nance guy. I mean, just Herb, Zion, Ingram all might miss tomorrow. So he's always got the talent. All he's ever needed is the minutes, and even limited minutes, he's good. I think Jackson Hayes is back or is back soon, so that could cut into it. But
I think he is back. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he played 3 minutes yesterday, but I think they'll probably just ease him in a little bit. I don't think that should cut into Nance too much right now. Yeah, well, Ingram's out. Nance is an okay ad. Yeah. What size league did you add him in? 12?
I think in a 14-man.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe 12 is a little small for a Nance. He's at 8% right now.
Oh wow.
But I think that there is going to be room for that to go up here.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys where if a guy gets hurt, like I know Val's never gotten hurt, but if like Nance stepped in the starting, he could be a top 50 guy the rest of the season. Like he's got all the tools.
We've seen it for stretches. Yeah, we've definitely seen it for stretches that he can give you another guy who doesn't really hurt you anywhere from a fantasy perspective, which is always attractive. I love that with Pat Beverly, even though field goal is not really his strong suit, but just guys who contribute a little bit across the board. When Nance is playing, there's not really a category where he doesn't do anything. I mean, he's like a 70-ish kind of percent free throw guy, I think, maybe a little bit somewhere in that range. Like those kind of guys are very attractive to me from a fantasy point of view. But speaking of kind of poor field goal percentage, the next guy who is being added up on Yahoo, I'm a big fan, Lou Dort. Now he's
Dort, Canadian. Let's go.
Killing your field goal. He's killing it so far this year, 30%. But everywhere else, he is contributing. Granted, doesn't have a block yet this year, but he is good for steals. He's good pretty much across the board. I like him. I think that he can have a bit of value this season. Maybe not a must-add player, but I think that he is a solid enough ad. What do you think?
Yeah, I've always been a big Lou Dort fan. I mean, he's really build dependent, right? If you got him on a field goal punt, he might be your MVP. Yeah. But I mean, he chucks, he hits threes. He's playing minutes. He's pretty healthy. He's all over the court. I don't know why his stocks aren't higher. That's always, he's probably considered one of the best perimeter defenders, but
yeah,
he's not really, and he's big too. But yeah, I like Dort, especially with Giddey. Giddey might miss games. Shea might miss games.
Giddey hasn't been great either. I mean,
he's been okay. I think he's 80th right now, but it's only been a couple games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I was kind of maybe just that last game that's sticking out in my head, 10, 2, and 5, no steals, no blocks. I think I was fading him a little bit from a category perspective just because the percentages are just not good. I mean, he's a counting stat point league Lothario, but he's not somebody who is I don't know. Maybe I was just a little bit lower than Giddey on the general consensus, and I think maybe a little bit higher than Lou Dort, and maybe that's the Canadian angle, always pumping up the Canadians a little bit. But I think with Lou Dort, we'll see him get more of a role. Last season, 32 minutes. I think that we'll see him probably go somewhere in that range again, give you similar kind of 17 and 5, 18 and 5. I think that he can do that, and I think there's value, especially given the way that he can defend and get you defensive stats.
Yeah, and he's going to have big games, right? He'll have games where he goes, 12 for 20, and then he'll go 4 for 18. So you got to take the good for the bad.
Yeah, I agree. Guys, feel free to chime in with any questions here. We'll probably go another 10 or so minutes. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them in there. The next guy being added up, though, on this list is Marcus Morris. Are you going to be adding Marcus Morris after he had a nice showing the other night?
I looked at him. I looked at long and hard, like I probably have every year for the last couple of years. But I mean, the Clippers are just so deep, right? I mean, even Covington's, who's kind of a defensive stud, isn't getting the minutes. So
yeah,
on back-to-back, I think the Clippers they have a back-to-back this week, so that's definitely going to be a Kawhi sit, don't they?
They had the back-to-back this past week. Let me see. Los Angeles Clippers. They play Tuesday, they play Thursday, and then they play Sunday. No.
Yeah,
Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, they're still easing Kawhi back. Jeezy looks okay. But I mean, they got a lot of mouths to feed. But Morris is a chucker, right? He gets the ball, he shoots it. And he's going to get open look. So it's not the worst ad, but he's really feast or famine.
Yeah, I think in the short term, while this nonsense with Kawhi is going on, this 20 minutes a game crap, I think that you have, I think that you have room for a little bit of value there. I think that their situation in general, it troubles me. I think that they're so deep. They're probably the deepest team in one of the deepest teams in the NBA.
Yeah, with all wings though.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're just going to continue to eat into each other from a fantasy point of view. Will you see guys like Morris and Covington and Powell and all of them have value? Nick Batum had a good game the other night. And then, like, I'm just really not sure how to figure this out. While Kawhi is being eased in, though, for whatever reason, they're doing this, bringing him off the bench. I think that you might have some room. Like if Marcus Morris is able to get like he did the other night, granted it wasn't the closest game, but he got 31 minutes. Maybe he goes 28 kind of minutes range for the next week or two until Kawhi gets fully ramped up. I think that there's going to be some value there.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean, he's kind of a low ceiling, low floor guy, right?
Yeah.
He's a guy you just put in there, and you don't expect much, and anything you get, you're happy about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't think that he's going to be a long-term ad, but I think in the short term here, I hate, by the way, I hate this Kawhi thing. Like he hasn't played in so long. If he's going to go out there and play, then let him play. If he's not going to play, then just don't play him. If you can, you can still get injured playing 20 minutes. You can still get injured playing 10 minutes. That's where I kind of stand on it. What do you think, though? Do you think they're wise?
It's Kawhi, man. I stopped trying to figure him out. I guess after he won us the title, but I don't. Is he the one doing the minutes restriction? Is it Ty Lue? Is it Ballmer? Is it his uncle? Right? Kawhi's going to do what Kawhi's going to do. And, in real life, he's about the best guy you can bank on for fantasy purposes. He's probably one of the worst.
Yeah. And I'm kicking myself a little bit because I was taking him in the third every time I was getting him. If it was like 28, if I was getting him in that range, 29, I'm thinking I'm getting a first round per game player, which we probably still are. It's just how long is that going to take? When are we going to get him? And I know I go back and forth in my head right now. Should you sell Kawhi or should you buy Kawhi? Part of me thinks that you should buy him. Part of me thinks that, his role will be bigger and bigger. People who drafted him, like myself, are probably not very happy at the moment. And you could probably get him for cheaper than what he's likely worth. But the other side of that is maybe he plays 55 games at 26 minutes a night. And it's like, what are we even doing here? If you had to choose to buy him or sell him, what would you say there if you had to give one or the other?
I'd probably buy him because I think selling can be too tough.
Yeah.
You're selling him at his kind of lowest point ever, right? Because when he's injured, you can't sell him. And so now, you got him playing, 16 minutes, 12 minutes, not starting. So I'd buy Kawhi, but I don't think I could sell him because, you're pot committed, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, I love the discount. I love the third round. Maybe even some drafts he was going to the fourth round. I think the latest I got him was 29 or 30, and I was totally content. I was totally content with that. But now it's not looking great. I think you probably have to hold, I guess. But sorry, go ahead.
I think you knew what you were kind of in for. Like, you really thinking he's coming 38 minutes a game?
No, I wasn't expecting that, but I certainly wasn't expecting him to come off the bench to start the year. Like that was a horrible, horrible feeling in my stomach when I got that notification. Okay, a couple more questions here. How do you feel about Zubac moving forward? Trying to decide between him and JV is my last big. Vanderbilt, I'd go Vanderbilt for sure.
Oh yeah,
I'd go Vanderbilt there. Zubac, he's like 90-something% or high 80s% rostered. I like him. I think he gets the minutes, then he's going to feast. He's going to be like a 50. He can average 15 and 15 if he's given the right amount of minutes. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're probably going to see him in the 20-ish minute range, and I think he'll be more of like a streamer guy. It goes back to the whole Clipper problem about they're all going to eat to each other's value. I mean, he's a center, not a wing, but it's still going to eat into minutes overall. And as much as I like him, I would definitely prioritize Vanderbilt there.
Oh yeah, not even close. But they got rid of Hartelstein and what is it? It's Moses Brown's the backup center who might be good.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's in any danger of a timeshare. So I mean, I think Zubac's going to play a lot better than he has, but the early returns aren't great.
Yeah, I agree.
But Vanderbilt all day.
Another question here from Derek, from Wayne. I was going to say from Derek. It's about Derek. Derek White sitting on my waiver wire. Who's the better roster between him and Trey Murphy long term? I think it's probably fairly close, honestly. I think they're both an injury away from having serious kind of value. I don't think as the rosters are currently constructed. Now, granted, Ingram is going to be out for a little while here with the concussion. Concussions are kind of tricky. It could be 2 weeks. It could be
It's his, 3rd
3
concussion
months.
too.
It's his 3rd concussion. Wow. Okay, that's not great. I didn't realize it was that many. That could be scary. I mean, hell, we're Canadians. We've seen what happens with hockey players when they get concussions. There's some guys who get concussions and they have to miss a lot of time. It can be very, very serious. Now, is it always serious? I don't know. We saw it in the NFL with Tua Tagovailoa getting thrown around the field, bad concussion, stumbling, and he's back in a couple weeks. So maybe Ingram comes back in a week or two. Trey Murphy's value would be killed a little bit there. Derek White, I think that he's, like you said earlier, a Brogdon injury or a Marcus Smart injury, or one of the Jalen's, one of the Jays, I should say, getting injured in Boston, and then maybe there's some more value there. Long term, though, I think it's a coin flip. Really, I couldn't really choose one or the other. Like, would be way ahead of the other one, I guess I would say. What about you, though?
I'd go Murphy, I think, because I think Zion, Ingram more likely to get injured. I think there's probably a clear pathway, although Brogdon just is injury prone. But I just, early on in the season, give me the ceiling, right? Trey Murphy, he could be an all-star. He's the best shooter in the draft. He's huge, great release. Pellies are going to be good. And you'll kind of know pretty early on if you're going to hold him or not. Derek White's going to play just well enough where you can't drop him and, give you those glimpses. It is super close, but early in the season, give me the upside.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. We got another question here about Hartenstein and Isaiah Jackson actually come up again. So we're picking 2. I'll put it up on screen here. We have Jeremy Grant, 3 games. We have Hartenstein, 4 games. And we have Isaiah Jackson, 4 games. I would lean towards the latter 2, Hartenstein and Isaiah Jackson, not just because of the games, but because I don't think Jeremy Grant's going to end up being so valuable this season. I think the Dame is going to take the majority of the shots. You have Simons to worry about. You have Josh Hart to worry about as well. I'm not big on Grant. You give me the extra game from those other 2 guys who I think have been performing a slightly bit better. What do you think, John?
It's probably that. Although I like Jeremy Grant. I mean, I like teams that are going to play fast. Portland doesn't play any D. Lil's going to be getting double teamed. He keeps scoring 40. But how many minutes has Jackson played the last couple? Because they don't want to start him.
He's not getting a lot of minutes. He had 22 minutes, but he blocked 5 shots.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. So I'm a sucker for blocks. That's tough. I mean, you probably can't go wrong either way. But I'd probably err on the side of man games. Yeah, give me the extra game always.
I would take the extra game there, and I just want to take a look here at the quality of their schedule. So Grant. Portland, they're playing Monday. Today. Yeah. And then they play Wednesday, Miami, and then they play Houston on Friday. Now that Friday game, 11 games going on. I'm not sure you'd even start him there if there's going to be 11 games going on. And then on Wednesday, you have 10 games. So I would lean definitely towards Hartenstein and Isaiah Jackson there. Those would be the guys that I would prioritize. I'm a sucker, like you said as well, for the big man stats, for the steals, for the blocks. And the extra game is really what seals it. If it was 3 across the board, I might even still go for Hartenstein and Jackson. But given the extra game, for sure, I'd take them.
Yeah. Can't go wrong there. Yeah, and then, Indy's got that back-to-back Friday, Saturday, Wizards, Nets. I mean, that could be 8 blocks for Jackson.
Yeah, it literally could be for sure. Guys, we'll do maybe 1 or 2 more players here over on Yahoo. If you have any questions, we're going to be wrapping this up in the next couple of minutes. I'll throw them in now if you got them. But the next guy on the list here, we have Cedi Osman.
Cedi.
He's had some good games. He's had some really good games. And I think if Darius Garland, now I don't know about the injury with Darius Garland here, if there's been any update. As of last night, still dealing with the swelling. Probably still going to be out. I think Osman is worth an add in the short term, and I think Karis LeVert as well. I know that wasn't great for LeVert the other night, but I think that they're going to still benefit, see more minutes while Garland's out. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. Cedi's been around the block. I think I've always picked him up after a big game. He's always let me down. So I've got like PTSD from him or something. But Yeah, I feel like Garland's got to come back soon, right? Like, whoa, swelling in his eye. What even is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like that could be like nothing, or that could be something really serious. Like that could really impact his assist numbers long term if he can't see properly. It could, impact a lot of different things. Shooting. I think it's probably not that big a deal, and I think Osman is definitely not a long term guy, but short
Yeah.
term, while he's producing here, I mean, so far this season he's averaging 16 points, a couple
That's not bad.
couple assists, couple of rebounds, couple of threes. He's shooting the lights out, 56%. It's not going to continue, but I think short term, he could be a dude.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he can do better, but Chetty's he's just not my guy.
Yeah, no, you could do better for sure. But if it comes down to, you're in a deeper league maybe, and there's not that many options, I think that he's okay.
Yeah. They're playing Magic, Celtics, Knicks. I mean,
Let's talk. Let's see. Let's do one more juicy one. We won't go in order here. I just want to find someone who's maybe a little more controversial, a little more interesting. Okay, let's go. Andre Drummond. He's been at it. He's added up a little bit. He's also been dropped. He's been okay this year. Not anything special, really, but he's still rostered in 37% of leagues. Are you holding him, trying to get, hoping for an injury in front of him, or is he somebody that you're willing to just drop and, deal with the consequences?
I'd hold him this week, right? 4 games, playing the Pacers, playing the Spurs. Yep. I mean, that could be a ton of rebounds, bunch of easy dunks. I mean, he's got Philly on Saturday, and we all know Embiid owns them. So, that's probably not going to go great, but Embiid owns a lot of guys. And he's been working on his 3, which is probably actually scary if you have him in fantasy. But I've always been a Drummond guy. He might win. He might win me. Win me rebounds and just him on the week, right? He might put up 60.
Yeah, I think long term, probably. I mean, if there's an injury to Vucevic or something like that, it'd be really good for him. But I don't know that he is somebody who needs to be on 37% of rosters still. Like that feels a little bit high, especially when you look at some of these other names. Like he's the same percentage as Tari Eason. Like I feel like I'd much rather have Tari Eason in that kind of range.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Drummond's old reliable, right? He doesn't need a lot of minutes. But especially too, if you don't have a lot of centers, he's just, and you know what you're getting. You're getting 18, 20 minutes, 10 boards, couple dunks.
Yeah.
A couple of dunk plays.
Nothing crazy. Yeah, I agree. The only thing I would say is that he does kind of hurt you if he does go to the line a lot. That would be something that you would worry about.
Yeah.
And the threes, I mean, maybe he starts to hit some threes. I wouldn't expect it, but potentially maybe we could see Andre Drummond hit a couple threes this season. That'd be pretty funny. Guys, last call for questions here. We're going to wrap this up any second now. Maybe one more player. Patrick Beverley. How are you feeling about Patrick Beverley? Is he somebody that you'd be holding on to?
Yeah. Did he have 10 stocks in his first 2 games?
So far, okay, so 3 games that he has 7 steals and 4 blocks.
Yeah. Like that's crazy. I mean, the Lakers are a hot mess. You could predict anything that's going to happen with them, right? But Russ seems like he's on his way out. Beverly's the only guy playing defense. The only guy who really, seems to care night in, night out. I mean, he's not giving you much else, but a handful of dimes and just I love stocks, right? So, if I can get 2 steals, 2 blocks from my end of the bench guy, yeah, I'm gonna hold him.
Yeah, totally. I really like what he does. He provides you value a little bit here and there across the board. Not gonna be crazy. I mean, field goal, he's not gonna help you out. He's more in that like Lou Dort. That would be like a specialty to have him.
But he's only taking like 7 shots.
Exactly. He's not going to kill you there. If you're in a punt field goal, he'd be like a must roster for me for sure, though. But even just your standard 12 teamers, I think that you could just roster him and hold it out. He's getting 30-ish minutes a game. I think that there's a lot of value there. Guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Appreciate you guys who are chiming in, throwing questions in. We'll be back next Monday at the same time. 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Until then, you can find me over on Twitter at Joe Orrico 99. John is at John Mozales. John, no, say it. John, say it. Mozales. I always phonetically pronounce things. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, you guys can find us over on Twitter until then, or at sportsethos.com in the forums. Cheers, everybody. Take care.